I'm Randall Phillips, and this is the Plumbers Philosophy. In today's installment, or I don't know what I want to call it, is it an installment? Put it in the chat, let me know. But what I wanted to do, because like I said in my previous video, I wanted to do videos from a standpoint of me imagining myself being on the other side of this video. Like, what would I be asking myself when listening to this guy, Randall Phillips? Like, who is he? What's the deal? The first thing that I thought about when listening to myself is a lot of times when you hear somebody, and this is what held me back a long time, and Sheri helped me to help encourage me to not hold myself back. You say to yourself, when somebody calls himself a coach, mentor, teacher, that stuff, you'll say as a skeptic, well, why do they qualify to say that? Well, great question. How did I learn these things that I want to share with you? Here's the story. So I'll sum it up by saying here's something that you should add to your repertoire is always be faithful to your mission. I'm going to say that again. Always be faithful to your mission. This is how I was able to come here and share this video with you today. So my mission early in my plumbing days, I would say, like I said, the timeline for plumbing was 1997 to about 2020, right? So about 2003 was a time when I was trying to become more streamlined in my operations. So what I did was I said to myself, how can I make working as a plumber by myself something that I can get more customers, as well as I can get the benefit of a routine that will help me to not get burnt out from the whole plumbing process. So I said, okay, well, what I'm going to do is combine something fun with something that I have to do. So what I would do is I'd get up in the morning and I would go to a coffee shop about 8 o'clock every morning. Okay. Cause I'm working for myself. So this is my job. I didn't, enjoy life and have fun and all that. I said, I need to work this since it's mine like a job. So I would go to the coffee shop from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock religiously, Monday through Friday. Weekends would be a little bit different because I had some other activities that I needed to do, but Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, no matter what, I'm at the coffee shop. Okay. People in the coffee shop, just like any other business that's like that, you got people that come and go. You got people who are regulars. You got people who, may have been there for the first time. Okay. So the people who are regulars, as well as the management and staff, they knew that they could count on Randall being there from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. That established a pattern of faithfulness. It's important. Okay. So as the result of this pattern of faithfulness, there was a gentleman that I met who was retired. In fact, amazing gentleman. We lost him probably 7 years ago, something like that. Amazing mentor to me. I don't even think when he was alive he would have thought of himself as a mentor to me, but that's what he was. So when he would see me at the time, he would come in because he's retired, and he would come into the coffee shop, read his paper, go through the business he had to do. I don't really know what he was doing, maybe paying his bills, just getting his mind right, whatever. This was his routine as well. And so he observed me and I observed him, because when you see somebody that's there all the time, I mean, unless you're just rude, you're going to say, hey, good to see you. So I'm just saying, if you don't talk to somebody like that, you should, because there's a reason why that person is there. So anyway, A lot of these stories that I'm telling, I'm not going to say any names, but I need to say this name because I like to give credit where credit is due. This gentleman's name was Charlie Hill, right? Charlie Hill lived, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Harvey, Illinois, something like that. The area that I was in was south suburbs, a little bit further south than that, but unfortunately, this particular coffee house chain, they didn't have anything close to where he was, so he came a little bit further south. What was nice about where this coffee house was located was it was strategic for me because it was close by where I live. It was close to the Home Depot, close to Menards. You know, for you plumbers out there, you know what I'm talking about. You want to have all that stuff close. So he saw me always being faithful, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And I saw him always being faithful. You know, he would come in. Sometimes he'd be there before me. I just always noticed him. So one day he came up to me. He said, Randall, hey man, listen, I got this tape that I want you to hear. And I was like, okay, you know, I'll check it out. Now I had an appointment that I needed to go to. And so I thought, well, maybe he was like, he'll give it to me and then, you know, I can listen to it later or whatever. He's like, hey, I need you to listen to it now. It take about 15 minutes. So I didn't anticipate that this was going to happen to me. I had no idea. And I was like, my back of my mind is like, I got this customer waiting. But my other mind said, well, I always have a customer waiting. And since Charlie Hill, thought enough of me to bring me this tape that he wanted me to listen to, I got to, you know, do something outside of the norm and check out what he was talking about. So this video, by the way, I'm looking at the time, may go a little bit longer, but it's important. So the tape that he brought me was a tape by Robert Kiyosaki. It was an interview called The Perfect Business. And by him making me listen to it, because, you know, my normal reaction, and probably yours too, would have been, okay, yeah, I'll check that out, you know, but the way that he used his words, his tone, and just my mind said, man, this guy pre-planned meeting me to let me listen to something. That's huge. And you know, that's a clue to all of us that's listening and watching this too. When somebody does something special for you, a lot of times we may take that for granted because we live in a society, I hate to say it, kind of selfish, a little bit self-centered, entitled. So when a person does something for you, you need to take a step back and listen to what they have to say. That's just my 2 cents. And so I'm glad I did that instead of, you know, oh, I'll get back to you. Let me think about it. All that mess. Okay. Listen to this tape. And in this tape, it was about 15 minutes, like I said. First of all, it explained who Robert Kiyosaki was, so why I should listen to him in the first place. Second thing was, he was using language of and related to business that was outside of my realm. And I knew in my soul, in the very heart of my being, I said, this guy knows what he's talking about. I need to learn more because I'm aspiring to be in that place like him. So after I listened to the tape, I admonish you to get the tape as well. You can get that probably on richdad.com. All of these things that I'm telling you to get, I'm not getting anything for it. I just want you to have it to add to your repertoire so you can be in that place where you're thinking new thoughts, right? So when I listened to that tape, like I said, there was a person interviewing Robert Kiyosaki, established his credibility, New York Times bestseller. He did this book and that book and this book and that book on personal finance and how you can, you know, change your finances and learn what the rich people do that poor people don't. I was like, oh man, I need this because unfortunately, like a lot of us, we learn our habits from our parents, our friends. We kind of pick it up maybe from work. Unfortunately, school doesn't teach us how to be in business unless you get some advanced schooling like college, and they'll teach you some business courses. However, most of the people that I've met, not bashing college, that have gone to college, there's things that they still don't know from a practical standpoint because the world of business is something totally different from theory, right? And so what I'm talking to you about now is things that I've gone through and I want to share with you. So maybe you don't have to go through that. Sometimes it's good to go through some stuff because you come out better on the other end. But back to my story. So listening to this tape, I was just, my whole mind was blown listening to this stuff because like I said, I was just in a place where I was ready to receive this information because I've always, since I can remember, wanted to be better and have more knowledge about what I'm really supposed to be doing. Not what people say I'm supposed to be doing, not their opinion, but really what I'm supposed to be doing. If I'm a plumbing contractor, there's rules to this. Now, fortunately, when I met him, I was in a place where I had worked for one of the largest plumbing companies in America. And fortunately, they focused on sales and customer service, not like that picture shows, turning of the wrench. Like I said, don't turn a wrench underneath a bathroom sink. Don't do it. That's not the right thing. But anyway, they focused on sales and customer service. Huge, because a lot of plumbers, I realized in life, did not know sales and customer service. They knew how to do plumbing, but in order to do the plumbing, this is huge for you and your business. In order to do your business, you have to be able to sell what it is that you want people to buy. You can't just sit there. I hope somebody will buy my stuff. It doesn't work like that. So anyway, so when I got this this tape, which changed my life forever, I didn't get it. I listened to it, took 15 minutes out of my day, called my customer up and said, hey, listen, I'm sorry, I'm gonna be late. You know, I had this important meeting that came up. I did not anticipate it, but I needed to do it. They were like, oh yeah, no problem. Okay. That's another thing too. I didn't just go to the customer's house and be late. I explained in advance, I'm going to be late. I'm just letting you know. Another tip for you that plumbers, a lot of plumbers and other business people don't do. They just come late and they think that that's fine. It's not fine, right? Side note, I get sidetracked. So back to the tape. So I'm listening to the tape. And after I was done with my mind being blown about what real business is, because I could tell by the way Robert Kiyosaki talked, he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was talking about. So I immediately said to Charlie, I said, man, what can I do to get this tape? He's like, well, you could buy it. Interesting. That's another tip to add to your arsenal. Oftentimes we will get things from the time that we're children, moving into being a teenager, being an adult, where people just kind of give us stuff. And oftentimes because we're given it, we don't appreciate it. So Charlie Hill gave me a valuable lesson. He said, you can buy it. Now it was a little cassette tape. For those of you all that don't know what cassette tapes are, this is before CDs. So that means that I'm old. It's okay. I accept it. So he had this cassette tape and he had a cassette tape player. And I said, well, how much is it? He said $6. And my first mind was like, man, that little cassette tape, because I've been DJing for a while, so I know how much stuff costs. I was like, man, that little cassette tape, in my first mind, you could just give me that. And then my second mind was like, yeah, well, he probably bought it, but even if he didn't buy it, there's a lot of value associated with that tape that he just let me hear. So I gave him the $6. No, I think he had to get me one or order it or something like that, because that was his copy. So he said, you know, I'll bring you one. It's going to be $6. I'll have it for you in a couple of days. So he did that. And so I listened to it again after I got it, my own copy, which made me appreciate it. And then I listened to each and everything that the interviewer said about Robert Kiyosaki and Robert Kiyosaki's philosophy. Okay. So once I got into that philosophy, I said to myself, I need to learn more about what this interviewer is asking Robert Kiyosaki. So for instance, the interviewer said, well, you know, Robert Kiyosaki is, you know, New York Times bestseller Rich Dad Poor Dad and Rich Dad's Guide to Investing and all these things. And so I made notes with pen and paper, old school. And when I made those notes, I wrote down each title of each book. And I said, what I'm going to do is go step by step based upon where he started and get those books. And I'm not really a sit down reader of books. I'm more of an audio book person, but I will do the book with the audio to learn that way. And here's the book right here. Hopefully you can see it in the camera. Okay. That's the newer edition. Well, newer as far as I know. There might be another one that came out, but the one that I had at first looked a little bit different, and then this one came out because I think Robert Kiyosaki got some new partners and a new book company, which makes sense, right? So anyway, when I got that book as a plumber working on my own, I immediately cleared my schedule out and start going to school, learning these things. The first book was Rich Dad Poor Dad. Okay. What's nice about what I learned in that book wasn't so much the information. The information was mind-blowing and powerful. Most people who are in the business and personal development space have Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's a clue. Okay. If you don't have it, you need to have. That's like step one. You need that in your life. And I'm going to say that you need to get yourself a library. And I'm not saying get some books and put them in a stack. You need to get a shelf, a designated place in your house where you put books to help you learn about business and personal development. That's the journey that we're going on as a business coach and you being a prospective business coaching client. Okay. So when I listened to what Robert Kiyosaki was saying in these books, which is what the beginning of the story, how I got to this point, he, like I'm doing with you, he said, most of these things that I'm sharing from you have come from reading books about people who have done what I aspire to do. So for instance, if you want to be one of the things that people really love as far as money making is real estate. Real estate is highly lucrative if you know what you're doing. So what Robert Kiyosaki said was, well, what I'm going to do is learn from other people who have skill in real estate. You know, you don't just wake up one morning saying, oh, I'm going to do this and do it. It doesn't work like that. But you can increase the leverage. That's another thing that he teaches in his books is how to have leverage in your life. You can create leverage for yourself by learning from others. So others meaning meeting people face to face, coaches, books, whatever it is, how much time that you want to spend is how soon you can get it done. I like to have advisors and coaches so I can get the answers quick because I need money now, right? Okay. If you have more time because you're just independently wealthy or money is not a big deal for you, then yes, take as much time as you like, get yourself some books, do it very, daintily, take your time. People like me, listen, I got stuff to do. I need the information. Let me know what I need to do. So that's what I'm talking about today. I'm looking for people who are of my sort. Contractor types, people who are in business, a new person that wants to get in business and wants to be able to do this fast. In fact, my class in my coaching, I can take you from your idea in starting to where you need to be in 90 days. That's what I like. I like 90-day blocks. Would I like you to be my coaching client forever? Absolutely. That's great. But typically it's going to take about 90 days. So back to Robert Kiyosaki. I'm on a rant. I'm just going here, right? This is unscripted, by the way. So when I took time out of I took off a whole, I think maybe 2 days. Went through Rich Dad Poor Dad, then Rich Dad's Guide to Investing, then all the other ones. I got all of those in my library in my upstairs area of where I live, right? So when I was done taking in all that information, the first thing that happened was I was exhausted, but I felt like I had entered into a new world. And what I had done, like I mentioned in previous videos, was I had just immersed myself into a new culture that it was totally new for me. This was 2003. Now, some of the things that Robert Kiyosaki had talked about, I kind of knew from some time ago because people would say a few things here and there. But in general, most of the things that he was speaking of was like, I could tell this was of and related to those people, and I'm not one of those people yet. So I determined I'm gonna pack my head with all of this stuff so that I'm gonna pick up something that I can start to execute on. And so after I took those couple of days off, immersed myself with that, basically the first 3 books that the interviewer in that 15-minute tape said, this is what Robert Kiyosaki's claim to fame is basically these 3 books. I went through those 3 books on audio. In fact, I was able to, at the bookstore, is very fortunate, there was a bundle where I got all 3 books on audio, and I bought all 3 books at the same time. And I took notes. It took me 2 days to get through that, from 8 o'clock until, I don't know, when I got tired, probably like 6 o'clock. I was exhausted. And so after I got those, the thing that was amazing, like I mentioned earlier about Robert Kiyosaki, was that he pointed to other books. He said, so if you like this, what I'm saying, the thought process came to me from, he mentions A Rich Dad and a Poor Dad. You need to read I'm not going to go into that. You need to get those books so that you can know the story yourself. But he said, my rich dad said, this is a good book that you should have that will help you in business. And so I made a note of that. So I had all of these notes. And one of the books that was incredible. Now this is hilarious. I don't know if you can see, I'm gonna get it closer. Okay. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Okay. It's got a little puff thing. That's some stuff from Sheri. I don't use puffs on my books. It's probably some kind of bookmark. I didn't ask any questions. But anyway, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Now, in Robert Kiyosaki's writings, I think, I'm pretty sure that was in there. He recommended that as well as some other books in order for you to get in a better place with dealing with people, because that's the title, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And what's so amazing about that book is that it talks about something that's not inherently natural for us as human beings, is to be interested in others. What do I mean? Well, typically when we get involved with any kind of, I call it stuff, whatever we're into, it's usually because of how we feel, what we want to do. In business, when you're trying to sell your product or service, you really need to learn the concept of, I'm still in the process of learning this too. Every day is a learning process. We need to collaborate. Business is a team sport. It is not designed to be done by yourself. However, most of the people that I talk to who need coaching, the reason why they need coaching is because they're doing it all by themselves. And the reason why they're doing it all by themselves is because that's the way the school system has taught us to be amazing valedictorians. We've won awards. We're great. We're top of the class. We're this, we're that. You, right? In business, if you've ever seen business people on TV, at some point you're going to see that they have a team. They have the person that's doing well is going to have a personal assistant, secretary, managers, CEO, lawyers, insurance people, advisors, all these people that are part of their team helping them win. Because and this is something else that Robert Kiyosaki talks about. This is his philosophy. He's like, business is a team sport. And if you're trying to be out here in the world of business and you get big, you're going to get destroyed if it's you by yourself going against a team of well-organized people. So I'm getting excited. This video was a little bit extra long, but I was feeling it, and I hope you felt it too. I've got some more after we get done with this. And as I mentioned, if you're interested in some one-on-one coaching or would like to be part of a seminar with me, give me your information and put it in bluesilvercafe.com. I'm Randall Phillips, and this is the Plumber's Philosophy. Take care.